This morning I want to engage you on the subject of generosity. And I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right exactly to the point. I came across a quote a while back, and I've been thinking about it ever since. And the quote goes like this: "True generosity is guided by awareness." That's it. 6 words. True generosity is guided by awareness. And I want to spend the rest of our time this morning exploring this a little bit in a sermon that I've given the title of the Tao of Relationship. And I have learned in the process of preparing for this morning that there's actually a book of that exact same title. I didn't know that when I put that on my schedule, the Tao of Relationship. I've never read that book. I have no idea what's in it. Any similarities are purely coincidental. So I want to explore this idea in this sermon, the Tao of Relationship. And I want to begin with my absolute favorite way to introduce people to Taoism. And that is, there is apparently, I've never actually seen it, I've seen a picture of it. Apparently there is a famous painting, a folk painting in China. It's called the Three Tasters, or it's sometimes called the Vinegar Tasters. And in this painting, there are 3 men who are standing around a vat or a bowl of vinegar. And each of the 3 men has dipped their finger into the vinegar and tasted it. The 3 men are Confucius and the Buddha and Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching about 2,500 years ago. So Confucius has dipped his finger in the vinegar and tasted it. And Confucius is scowling because the vinegar is bitter. And Confucius believed that life was bitter and society had gone astray and things were going badly. And the way that you address the bitterness of life is you honor the ancestors properly. You go back to the old ways and you follow this rigid code of social behavior and structure. And if you do all that, then you will alleviate some of the bitterness of life. And the Buddha has dipped his finger in the vinegar and tasted it, and the Buddha is scowling because the vinegar is bitter, and the Buddha believed that life was bitter and life was suffering and life was dukkha, and the way you overcome we get attached to things and that causes our suffering, and the way you overcome the suffering of life is you understand the 4 noble truths and you adopt the 8-fold path and you right living, right speech, and you do all these difficult things, and when you do this you will alleviate some of the bitterness of life. But Lao Tzu, the 3rd person in the painting, Lao Tzu has tasted the vinegar, and Lao Tzu is smiling. Because what else should vinegar taste like? Right? Vinegar is vinegar. If you're going to taste vinegar, I mean, that's what it is, right? And all our judgments about vinegar are just our judgments, just like our judgments about everything else, right? Bitter and sweet and right and wrong and up and down, and that has nothing to do with anything. That's entirely self-referential stuff. So Taoists believe that happiness and peace for human beings come when we are in harmony. When we are in harmony with each other, when we're in harmony with our surroundings, when we're in harmony with the way of nature, when we're in harmony with our own deepest nature. The Tao itself is actually defined to be indefinable, right? In fact, if you can define it, that's how you know you're getting it wrong. The Tao is the invisible principle, the way of life, the way things are supposed to be. It includes all of the polarities of our judgments, and it balances them out whether we like it or not. So, for instance, and these are fairly trivial examples, but the truth is, right, if I do anything more and more, if I do something over and over again, its opposite will appear. Its opposite will arise. So like striving to be beautiful eventually makes a person ugly. Right? Insistence on being kind can become a form of selfishness. And I have actually seen really well-intentioned social justice efforts cross over into what I consider just self-righteousness. Have you seen this? Insistence or being obsessed with living, right, suggests being kind of worried about death. Endlessly seeking to control things, you ever notice that actually makes you more vulnerable? The spiritual or life goal for a Taoist is to, and this is kind of subtle, I invite you to chew on this a little bit. The spiritual life goal for a Taoist is to be yourself in the same way, for instance, that a tree is a tree, or a rock is a rock, or the wind is wind. It is a practice of yielding to nature, even our own deepest nature, which is like the exact opposite of what we're taught in our culture, right? We're taught to acquire things and get stuff and work for stuff and bring stuff in, right? This is the exact opposite of that. It is yielding. It is letting go of our assumptions, letting go of our limitations, letting go of all these structures we have adopted. So the goal is to be who we were meant to be, who we were born to be, rather than struggling to be something that we're not, or being lost in some merely human social construction, right? Which, like all of us pretty much are, most of the time. So here's a fairly typical Taoist teaching story. One day a thief came to a Taoist teacher. The thief had fallen in love with the teacher. He had never seen such grace in a human being before. And he asked the teacher, "Is there some possibility for my growth as well? Would you take me as a student? But I have to be clear with you about this thing. Like, I'm a thief. And I want to be your student. I want to be a disciple. But don't ask me not to be a thief. I've always been a thief. That's what I do. I've tried to quit before. It never works. I'll do whatever you say. I just can't stop being a thief. We need to be clear about that." The teacher says, "I don't care if you're a thief." The thief says, well, wait a minute. Every time I approach a religious teacher, they always say, well, you have to stop stealing first. The teacher says, well, you must be talking to thieves then. Otherwise, why should they be concerned? I'm not concerned about that. The thief was very happy. He said, that's okay then. I can become a disciple. You are a wise teacher. You are the right teacher for me. The teacher accepted him and said, well, now you can go out, do whatever you want, but only one condition. You had a condition. I have a condition too. One condition. Be aware. Go break into houses, take things, steal, do whatever you like. That's of no concern to me. Just when you do it with full awareness. Yeah. The thief did not understand he was falling into a trap. 3 weeks later, he came back. He said, oh, you are a tricky teacher. Because if I become aware, I cannot steal. And if I steal, my awareness disappears. The teacher said, no more talk about you being a thief and stealing. I'm not concerned about that. Look, it's up to you. You decide. You want awareness? You decide. You don't want awareness? Again, you decide. Oh. But now it is difficult, for I have tasted awareness, and it is so beautiful. Just the other night, for the first time, I was able to enter the palace of the king. I opened the treasure. I could have been the richest man in the world, but your words were in my head, and I had to be aware. And when I became aware, all those diamonds, they just looked like stones. And when I lost the awareness, such riches were in front of me. I did this many times. I went back and forth. I would become aware, and then I would not even touch anything. It all just looked so foolish and stupid and like just stones, and what am I doing? And then I would lose awareness, and they would become beautiful again. The whole illusion intoxicating. But I finally decided they were not worth it. True generosity is guided by awareness. In the story Eric told us earlier, right? Abu Qasim had no awareness. True generosity is guided by awareness. I'd like to be a little more explicit about this awareness. And here's a warning to you. I'm going to drop on you what I believe is a profound spiritual truth. I believe the awareness we are speaking of, is of our deep and inherent interdependence and connection to each other, to the cosmos, and to the mystery at the heart of the universe. This is the awareness. What I like to call this awareness of the unity that makes us one. It is a deep awareness of the transitory nature, the temporary nature of all physical things, and even of our own fortunes, whatever they might be. It's a marvelous awareness of our own truest nature as children of the universe, and how we are all of us, we are all in this together. And how if we are real, if we are willing, courageous enough to be real about this awareness, this deep knowing, it will change your life forever. And we will be wholly and joyfully generous with all that we are and all that we have, because this awareness simply will not let us do otherwise. Mother Teresa wrote, "We cannot do great things on this earth. We can only do small things with great love." Now, the corollary to this, of course, is that to the extent that any one of us or we as a community are ungenerous, right, that's probably the extent to which we are living in unawareness, or in denial, or maybe simply blind to the deeper reality that I believe that we affirm at the close of every worship service here at First Unitarian. There is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. In the last couple of weeks, I've had two experiences where my own awareness was expanded. The first was at a press conference at the federal courthouse in downtown Denver. This was with the Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition. I had been asked if I would show up and offer an opening prayer to that event, and I did that. But the main speakers were three families who are in various ways affected by their immigration status and in various ways are engaged with the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency. One of those families was Arturo Garcia and his wife Ana and their two children. Another one of those families, and Arturo, by the way, is in danger of being forcibly deported, separated from his wife and children, and sent back to Mexico, where he has not been for 15 years, where his children have never been. Another one of these families was a mother with three children who told of her husband, who was currently, at that moment, I believe still, incarcerated at the Aurora detention facility because he didn't have his papers with him when he was stopped for a traffic ticket. And the third family had a similar story, and my own awareness in that moment, surrounded by these people, their faces, the children, the wives, my own awareness of the incredible stress and worry and hardship being imposed on these families, my own awareness of that was deeply and personally expanded. And I just ask, just imagine, if you can, imagine if you or your father or your husband was incarcerated and facing deportation for lack of a piece of paper. The second experience was a week ago last Friday. Here at First Unitarian, I had spent the night with the Women's Homeless Initiative, which we do about every other Friday. Last month, we did it 3 Fridays in a row. But it was with the Women's Homeless Initiative, and especially on the 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. awake shift. And after seeing earlier in the evening just how plain, it's hard to describe, just how plain tired and just worn out some of these women are from the very difficult lives that they live on the streets of Denver. And after seeing this and having them go to bed, and it's in the middle of the night, and I'm sitting out there and I can hear them right through the partition. I can hear some of them gently snoring or occasionally tossing and turning. But for me, in that moment, it was recognizing that these women at this moment were perfectly safe and warm. And knowing that they were perfectly safe and warm, and imagining where they might have had to sleep had they not been here, safe and warm at First Unitarian Denver. Again, my awareness was deeply and personally expanded, and I felt great pride in the work that this congregation does in the world. Family Promise has moved in this morning. 5 homeless families will be staying here for the next 10 days. I strongly encourage you to talk to Ann Weaver or to Jen Silverstein after the service. Sign up to help with that effort. Get to know the people we serve. I promise you, your awareness will grow as well. And here's the point of all of this. Here's the point. The deeper truth of our lives, the Tao of our lives, if you will, is that we, all of us, we both give and receive all the time. We can't help it. Everything we do, or even think or feel, puts our life energy out into the world. And everything that we experience, touch, taste, see, hear, smell, this is the energy of the world coming back to us. But you and I, with this unbelievable gift of being human, we have choices to make. And we may not understand everything we experience or everything that we do, but the very nature, the very essence of the universe, the very essence of the Tao is always of give and of take. It's a two-way street. It goes out, it comes in, it's a flow. Our job is to be in harmony with that flow, to have awareness of that flow. It's all about give and take, growth and decay, exchanges of energy. It is all about relationship. And it's all about relationship all the time. I sometimes like to say, and people will argue with me on this occasionally, but they don't stand a chance. Here's the thing. I sometimes like to say, you want to know what the quality of your life is? Look at the quality of your relationships. Because I will argue with you that the quality of your life is exactly equal to the quality of your relationships in this life. Show me somebody whose close, intimate relationships are characterized by mutual trust, sharing, intimacy, and I will show you somebody with a high quality of life, who will report to you that they have a high quality of life, even if they live on a dirt floor. Show me somebody in this life whose intimate, close relationships are characterized by mistrust, scorn, tension, dissonance. I will show you somebody who has a very poor quality of life, and I don't care if they're in a 22-room mansion up above Aspen somewhere. The quality of your life exactly equal to the quality of your relationships, and it's all about relationship all the time. I am suggesting that if you are not a part, if you're not a part of this in a conscious, aware, and positive way, not only are you not living as fully as you could be, your holding back is affecting the whole universe, is affecting the Tao, if you will. If you're not being intentional about adding to the positive energy of the universe, intentional and aware about giving back some of the grace you have received, living into the generous heart that you were born to be, you are also not receiving in return the positive, created, miraculous, transformative energy that is the very nature, the very essence of the mystery at the heart of the universe. I am not suggesting that you give until it hurts. I am not suggesting that you give until it helps. I am suggesting to you that you give until your awareness grows and you know more truthfully who you are. Because what else should love taste like?